Hi, how you doing? It's Jim here. As you can see, I'm not by myself today. I have the one and only Dan Nightingale. Dan, you're the guitarist and vocalist, or one of the guitarists and one of the vocalists, I think, from Conjurer. And your career has been lauded and applauded fairly universally. You're one of the great new sort of British metal bands coming through the last few years. Your first album, Maya's, really, really well received. You've gigged and festivaled all over the place. Recently signed to Nuclear Blast, I think.
Yeah,
and
that's the one.
New album coming out sort of, I'd say any day soon, but it's probably going to be when you guys are ready for it. Your career is going up, 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 up. So for one of your absolute career highlights, welcome to the channel. Hey!
Thanks for having me. It's wicked to be here.
I know, it's awesome. It's awesome. So how you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I've just been having a lazy weekend, really. Now that it's gotten colder, you don't really want to go outside that much. But yeah, I've just been about the flat, tidying up, all that kind of thing. Excited for Christmas, getting all my Christmas shopping sorted.
All that good stuff.
Yeah.
Do you do it online or do you go out to the shops?
Oh, I do most of it online. Like you, when you're getting records and stuff, go onto eBay, Discogs, all that kind of thing, and just find some nice morsels. Some rare finds. Exactly. How
have you found the whole the pandemic lockdown thing? It's been a weird old time, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been pretty odd. It's had ups and downs. Of course, the outcome of it all has been awful, but in some ways, like for me, so I work with my dad at the family motorcycle business.
Oh, cool.
And like most businesses, we all had to shut down as soon as the pandemic hit, but we were still allowed to do like mail order stuff. So I just pick and pack helmets and things like that. And it was actually really nice to just have the whole shop just to ourselves, just me and my dad, doing all the packing, sending everything out, and no one coming in. Everyone's, safe in their homes and everything. And we were just allowed to blare music and order KFC every day. So in some ways,
living the dream.
Yeah. But yeah, it's affected band stuff, as you can imagine, pretty hard. We've managed to do quite well though, because we have constantly been touring off the back of our first album, and we were actually mid-tour when all the lockdowns and stuff were announced. We were 4 days into like a month-long Europe tour.
Oh, wow.
And woke up one morning, it's like, we're going home, it's getting pretty bad. So we all legged it home, and it actually gave us a chance to sit down and write a new album and do all that kind of stuff, because we'd have just never stopped otherwise. We'd just kept accepting offers. So yeah, we just hunkered down, wrote and recorded an album, and now we're ready for it to come out whenever that'll be.
Excellent. Is that up to you or is that up to the label?
Well, a lot of it's been up to vinyl factories.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So with all the backlogs and stuff, I believe the latest statistic I heard was that a band that wants to get their album like on the list to go into production and stuff, they would be looking at a December 2022 release, like an actual rollout. So things have been backed up for quite a while, and that's been the main thing. Because in terms of recording, like it was just we booked a place, did it. We had a lockup at the time, so we were able to go there and record bits and stuff.
Yeah.
We've just been sitting on it for about a year.
Oh wow.
So it's all been done and like ready to go, but we've been sorting out. We're really not good with like sorting out music videos and all that extra.
Hence you were off doing a video weeks ago, weren't you, in Peckham? I think you said.
Yes.
Yeah. So when we first sort of made contact, you were off making videos. I was like, how exciting!
Yeah. That was when we did the first album. It was like we did it, and we're like, right, we're done. And then our label was like, right, we need music videos, promo shots, this, that. And we were like, oh, not thought about any of that. And so we had to like quickly pull ourselves together and get stuff done. But this time we've been like really on it. And it's just been nice to have something to work towards when, you know, everyone else has been hunkered down or working from home, or you know, going in part-time. It's like, it's been good to have like a creative project to work on. So in many ways we've been very lucky. There's a lot of bands that have ended up splitting up. There's a lot of...
We talked. Well, say we talked about. I mentioned in passing Anathema, and you oh yeah, all over those guys. They've. I don't know if they've officially split up, but they've certainly sort of gone into hiatus, and that's predominantly because of the pandemic. And I don't know. Do you ever buy any kit off Reverb? You know, that site that sells.
Oh, I'm aware of it. Yeah.
So I signed up to it years ago. I don't think I've ever bought anything off it, but I keep getting all these emails through. And Anathema keeps selling off all their gear. It's so sad. So every sort of like 2 or 3 weeks, there's another, oh, here's the keyboard that we wrote all these songs on. Lots of history here. Get it if you can. We need the money. It's like, oh man, it's so sad. It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, like whether it's out of, as you say, they need the money, then it's like, yeah, well, it's sitting there doing nothing. You may as well. But like, if ever I was at the point where I had to, like, I've had to move all my gear into my flat now because we've just moved out of a lockup. And so it's all just kind of sat here, and I'm like, I could never ever get rid of it. Like, I've got far too many guitars, but I could never ever.
There's always like an emotional attachment as well, isn't there?
Yeah, it's just impossible for me to. There have been times, you know, I've sold pedals and like really old guitars and stuff, but I wouldn't have the heart. I'd rather be homeless and just all my guitars than just huddling up with them. But yeah, it's gutting for an apple.
Yeah. So what was your route into music initially? What's your earliest musical memory?
So my memory's pretty hazy. I've slept since. But basically, I'm pretty sure when I was a kid, my parents had an old, really like dark mahogany sort of, I don't know if you'd call it a hi-fi system or what, but it was like an amplifier and then a tape deck and then a CD player. And then right on the top was the record player. Yeah. And for years when I was a kid, I was just kind of always staring at it like, what is this gargantuan thing? And eventually realized, well, you play CDs in here, you play tapes in here, and I was never tall enough to reach the record player, so I never really found out what that was. Yeah. But just being curious essentially about the kit and just like, what is this? What does it do? And then like I remember hearing the Trooper, whether my dad played it or I heard it somewhere. Like there was always music going on somewhere, but like I never knew where it came from. When you're like 3, you're just like, oh, sounds. Yeah. But, yeah, he had one of these great things, and like all the records by it, he had Peace of Mind and all that. And it was just like, I'm pretty sure the first metal song I ever heard was The Trooper, or maybe even one of the first songs I ever heard was The Trooper. Wow. And it, as a little kid, you're like, what's this? Like, it was so exciting. And yeah, just kind of with whatever sort of courage I could muster, every now and then it was like I'd find something of my dad's and be like, what's this? And we would always have things like MTV and Kerrang! And later on Scuzz, all those music video channels and VH1. We used to have a lot of those on the telly, and I would just kind of sit and gawp at whatever was on. Every now and then I'd get quite excited about something, and my dad would be like, oh, I think we've got the CD of that upstairs. Like, I'm very sure I saw Epic by Faith No More, the video for that. Yeah. And again, as a kid, you're like, what is this? It's crazy. And I remember my dad saying, we've got that upstairs. So I go upstairs and I'm like, my first love as a kid was actually PC games. And obviously they all came in CD-ROMs. So all these CDs that my dad had in his side room, I thought they were all games. So I would look at this, what's this? The Pogues? What game is that? How do you I used to just think they were all, PC games.
The Irish whiskey dancing game. Yes.
Yeah. And I remember finding like the real thing and just being like, well, this is mine now. And little things like that. Primarily my mum and my dad, just in various different ways, whether it's tapes on in the car or do you remember Winamp Media Player at all? Yeah, my dad had that, and I used to like changing the skins on it because I always thought that was cool. Yeah, just things like that. And he'd be like, "Oh, have you heard this Slipknot song? Have you heard this Sum 41 song?" Like, he just kind of, we always kept tabs of the music channels.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just, my whole family's always not been musicians, but been very heavily into music. There's always something playing from some room of the house.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it in terms of getting into the stuff I was getting into, following my dad's kind of footsteps, really. AC/DC was a big one. Jimi Hendrix. He did a good job of just kind of planting
educating.
Seeds.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool. My mum loves Bon Jovi and all that. And
cool.
Yeah, Richie Sambora. Like, a lot of people, you know, with bands and stuff, and someone's like, "Oh, who made you want to pick up a guitar?" And it was like James Hetfield or something like that. Nah, Richie Sambora. Like, I remember watching him as a kid and being like, "Oh, I want to do what he does." Like, and yeah, I still think he's, even though, you know, Bon Jovi fell off the wagon a long time ago. Like, when as a kid,
yeah, they did. But when I was going to say, when I'm a bit older than you. Probably quite a bit older than you. I remember my first musical, I don't know, my first band that before Iron Maiden was a big one for me. But before all that, before I discovered sort of metal and sort of proper rock and stuff, it was stuff like Adam and the Ants, or and I was showing my age. That's sort of like really early 1980s. And then I think my mum was a little bit into Queen and Status Quo, so there was that playing. My dad was not. His thing was ABBA, so we had a lot of ABBA in the house. Yeah, so we had a lot of ABBA, we had a lot of Queen, a lot of Status Quo, so fairly sort of melodic, safe, polite music, I'd say. And I don't know quite how I ended up sort of rebelling against it. Oh, yeah, I can't. As a kid, you're going to, aren't you? You sort of. All your friends at school sort of saying, "Oh, did you see?" It was Number of the Beast. It was on Top of the Pops.
All right.
On one particular night, that song, and we all came into school and it's like, "Crap! Did you see that?" And we were like, "Oh my god!" And we all said, "Right, we're going to form a band." So so we said, well, of course, they didn't actually teach sort of contemporary instruments at the school, so. Two of the people went off to learn violin because that's the closest thing to playing a guitar. I did orchestral percussion because that could be close to playing the drums, and
bang.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody else said, "Well, I'll play a tuba because that's a bit bassy. We can sort of get on to sort of doing." So we kind of ended up forming a band by sort of default. We sort of ended up sort of inventing how to play music. We weren't taught how to do it at all. But yeah, it was that watching Iron Maiden on Top of the Pops. So it was just like a total eye opener, and then all of a sudden, discovering all this music on radio. This is obviously before the internet was around, so you couldn't sort of go and discover stuff that way. But yeah, just this whole world of Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and AC/DC and just all this stuff suddenly. So wow, and it is. I'm doing this sort of musical journey now where I'm going back sort of beyond that and discovering music from the 70s because I didn't hear it. So people can't believe I've never heard Yes, for example, or stuff like that. And it's just, well, if you don't, you don't. You're not going to, unless you're prompted to do it, you're not going to go and sort of find it later on in life. So
you're kind of plonked into circles when you're a kid. It's whatever your parents are playing, whatever your friends are playing. Like, it really isn't until, like, I can't imagine what it would have been like not to make you feel old, but like, I can't imagine what it would have been like. Because obviously, as I was saying, like for me, it was music channels and things like that, and you didn't have that. Like,
not until I was about 16 or 17, or maybe a bit younger than that. But it did start to come through. So MTV, I remember that starting up. The big things on there, I seem to remember, was Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel was over and over and over again, and Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. So those are the two, and Def Leppard, I think they were quite big, and ZZ Top. Yeah, I don't know if you remember those. They were sort of big on MTV, but apart from that, I don't really remember MTV very much. It's sort of fairly forgettable. But
I dare say, and as well, it probably, I wouldn't know what kind of splash it made initially, whether it was something that rose up to be a big thing, or if as soon as MTV hit, it was, wow, what's all this? I mean, like, obviously with Thriller and all that, like, what year was Thriller? Can't believe I'm having to ask.
Maybe 83 or 4.
Yeah, and
I don't know, something like that. Someone's going to say, aren't they? So, oh my God, you don't know that. So no, I don't.
Well, yeah, early 80s, I imagine. Like, and it wasn't I mean, especially for me, when I was watching all the music video channels and stuff, they didn't kind of get the bigger budgets until more towards the 2000s, like in terms of how glossy they all looked and how appealing they were to kids. Like you think of like even great music videos like Paul Simon's, You Can Call Me Out. Like it's so simple and so kind of just bare bones, but still a hilarious, brilliant video. And then when you get to, you know, the 2000s, when I'm watching everything looks like a Michael Bay film, and it was just kind of like, oh bloody hell, like, there goes the budget. Like,
yeah. So like you're in the middle of Heat or something now.
Yeah, they all do. And now doing music videos and stuff, like I understand the need for them. I understand like momentum and all that, but they're rubbish if you don't have a budget. Like there are like groups out there that have made incredible videos on low budgets, as I say, with You Can Call Me Al and stuff. But yeah, it's all changed since the music music industry is not throwing around money like they used to, making all these big budget productions and stuff.
No. I find it interesting as well. We've been talking about sort of music generally, that your style, I don't know if that's even the right word to describe it, but the music that Conjurer makes, I've listened to some. I haven't listened to all of it yet, but
that's okay.
It's not as scary as you made out it was going to be. It was okay, so I can listen to this. So I've listened to it. It's really good, really good.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No, really, totally is. But it is not the music that you might associate someone who then be listening to jazz or to Paul Simon, as you're saying, or to all these other things. And I love that people are able to take all these experiences and world things they've heard throughout their lives and just bring it to the front and say, okay, I've got all this, but I want to do this with it and do something completely different. And do you find that your fans, the audience, has an expectation of who they think you are, and you're not always the person they think you are, or is it? I don't even know what I'm saying here.
No, I think I follow you. Like, is it kind of like,
are you metal enough all the time?
No, we are not at all like that. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Like, we've kind of, don't want to say we've got an image or anything, but we are very much on the surface as we are talking to people. We're just four idiots. Like we're just four mates that like really like getting together and making music that we'd like to hear, while also kind of, you know, pushing boundaries. Like, not that we're, you know, incredibly progressive or anything, but we definitely have progressive influences and stuff. I grew up listening to, even though Iron Maiden aren't strictly a prog band, grew up listening to them, and from that, all those kind of elements you can hear where like their influences from even Yes and Genesis were coming in, like when they started introducing synthesizers and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, we're not particularly boundary pushing. Like, I guess we are a metal band, but we're influenced by a lot of things that I think people might not expect. One of them, so there's only two bands that all four of us have ever agreed are great, because usually three of us are massive on a band and another one's like, oh, they're rubbish. And like sometimes it's 2 versus 2. It's very rare that all four of us agree. But surprisingly, I don't know what this says about us, but the only two bands we've all agreed on are System of a Down and Carly Rae Jepsen.
Okay.
and neither of those two things are in our music, but like we very much feel that you can be influenced by music without wanting to kind of take inspiration from and sprinkle, you know, bits of them into it. Like, a lot of it can be about how a song is crafted, not necessarily how it sounds. Yeah. And so with a lot of jazz and things like that, even though we don't have any songs that would follow a typical kind of jazz structure or anything,
there is no such thing as a typical jazz structure, is there?
Whereas, for instance, the guy I told you about when we were talking in our emails, Corey Dick, he approaches jazz in a much more compositional way. It's not so much, you know how a lot of tracks it'll be a sort of canon of instruments, like the bass might start off, and then the drums come in, and then the piano will come in, and then a sax will come in, and then the rest of the song is very much, okay, now it's your turn to jam, your turn to jam, your turn to jam. Corey Dick is much more, it maybe helps that there's vocals in his songs, but it just the dynamics of his compositions and the instrumentation isn't always the same, and there's a lot of different kind of like modes being used, different kind of vibes, even down to like cultural vibes. Like some songs will have more of an East Asian kind of vibe to it, and then some songs will have more of a Scottish vibe, and some might be like that kind of stuff. Really, really interests us, like music that evokes imagery and makes you feel something. Like there's far too much music out there, not to sound like an old fuddy-duddy or anything, but it's just, you know, processed through the meat grinder. It's to get views, it's to get hits, it's to get clicks, it's to make TikToks too. And that's, you know, that's fine, that has its place, but it's just not what we're interested in. Like we're much more interested in, well, how can we push ourselves? How can we push the music we write? Like how can we push the genres we like? Like even just as a quick example, a genre like black metal, which is something that we're not really big on, there is something good in everything. There is something to take influence from in every genre of music. And when we stumble across something that we feel is kind of resonates with us more than anything in the genre ever has, it's really inspiring. It's kind of like you know, I imagine maybe for you, like with the genre of prog rock, is it Harken or Haken? I always forget how to pronounce.
Yeah,
Haken, like
rhymes with bacon.
Yeah, they've come along, and for a lot of people, they have been a huge shot in the arm for like the prog rock scene and stuff like that. And we're actually playing with them in a festival soon. Can't remember the name of it because my brain still isn't quite used to the fact that gigs are back now. So offers will come in left, right, and center. I'm like, I've taken no holiday for a year, like book whatever, and I'll play it. Who's on? I don't know. I'll find out on the night. But yeah, we're playing with those guys, and like, just we like listening to music that's just exciting. And sometimes with what gets pumped in your ears, you know, left, right, and center, walking through the supermarket or whatever, it just makes you feel like a zombie.
I totally get that, and I'm 100% in agreement as well. So that I think there is all sorts of music that has different jobs to do for you, as it were. So I think some music used just to chill out and to relax, you know, as an ambient soundscapey stuff. It's really good just to, okay, I want to concentrate, I want to write some stuff, let's have this going on, and it can sort of help to sort of just take all the other noise away. And actually it's quite nice to listen to as well, but that's there for that thing. But you're right about the sort of the manufactured TikTok-y stuff though. I don't see what it's there for. It's apart from maybe sort of like 14-year-old girls to, as you say, do their dances to, but it's a weird one. But I think all music, more or less, is valid. I mean, it's got to be, because it's whether you like it or not, it is created. It's created. It's come from a person. It's someone hopefully pouring out their sort of emotions and their soul into music to express something at that time. So whether it connects with one person or a million people, it's still doing its job that it needed to do for that person. So it's I've never really tried not to criticize music from anybody. I might not enjoy all music, but it's all completely valid. And I think sometimes you might need someone to sort of help you, steer you in a certain direction to sort of understand it, or to, okay, I get what's going on now. So when I first started hearing sort of quite sort of heavy metal, well, I don't mean sort of heavy metal, just sort of metal that is really quite heavy, where you've got sort of growling and stuff like that. There's I don't get this. I really don't. But it takes a while, and actually, once you sort of have sort of normalized it, and it becomes part of the texture of what the song is, it just transcends everything and just becomes absolutely beautiful. And I never thought I'd say that when I first started listening to that sort of music, but it is beautiful. It's incredible. Some of the stuff that's out there really is. And I put you guys into that camp as well.
Thank you very much.
Had I come to that 3 years ago without having any experience of that sort of music, I'd have run a mile. I really would.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and was first like playing guitar and like jamming with other people and stuff. I remember I was in like year 9 English class or something, and I was sat next to this guy, Andy, who I went to primary school with. And it was just one of those things, you know, you're in school, you're sat next to someone. It's kind of like, I guess we get to know each other sort of thing. I knew him from primary school, and we ended up talking, and he ended up telling me that he started playing guitar because when I was in year 6 or so, I did a school talent show playing guitar on like my Beastie Rich Warlock or some horrible thing. And he started learning guitar through that. And it was like, that's awesome. Should we jam? And like, we just ended up like becoming friends and stuff. And, you know, you start saying, oh, what are you into? And he was really into Status Quo and stuff like that. So he got himself a little Telecaster. And I was into, you know, my Metallica, Slipknot, Avenged Sevenfold, all that kind of stuff. And it was actually him that said, oh, have you heard this band Killswitch Engage? Have you heard Trivium? And they were shouty, screamy bands. I know Slipknot were as well, but like they had song bits and stuff. And it was just like, for a 10-year-old to get into, it was like, oh, this is okay. Like, but he showed me some like purely screaming bands. I was like, oh no, I don't like that. I was like, I can't hear what he's saying. Like, I got so like about it. But now look, I'm doing exactly that. And it's, you know, not everything that you are introduced to you're gonna understand straight away. I think there's a lot of pressure put on music to be immediate now. Like if it doesn't hook you in an instant, then it's kind of worthless. That's why a lot of song lengths seem to be getting shorter, yet album track lists seem to be getting longer. It's just kind of a lot of music I hear now from certain artists, it'll be like 1:53 long, it'll be a verse and a chorus, and like, yeah, fair enough if that's what people want to do. But for me, like with the music I listened to growing up, there was a real emphasis on, I took a lot away from, as most people do, melodies and hooks and things like that. And that all goes into the kind of makeup of your songwriting. And as you say, like you can have a song, if I'd have sat and paid attention to Killswitch and Trivium and stuff when I was that age, if I'd have stuck with it, it'd be like, well, this song is just verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Like it's just a typical ABBA to do songs like that. And then the chorus would have like a great melodic vocal line. And it's kind of like, oh, okay. But then the verses are really loud and like listening to all that kind of different stuff, even though, you know, I had my niches, like very much metal and hard rock, there was so many different kind of perceptions, I guess. Like, obviously, a lot of people were kind of like, oh, metal's just screaming and noise and stuff like that. And it's like, well, no, you listen to something like Baroness, which can be as kind of loud and bombastic as it can be majestic and beautiful. I see Baroness as like, they are the band that, other than Queen maybe, that can write those majestic kind of lead lines and stuff like that. Like I feel, we, as much as we're like a metal band, like I don't want us to be pigeonholed in that way. I like what you say about genre tags, which is that they're good if you like, you're in a shop and it's like, well, I know this album's jazz, I need to go to the jazz section.
Yeah.
But beyond that,
it makes no difference. You want to have two labels, good or bad, or I like, I don't like. That's it. That's it. And maybe sort of loud music, mellow music, so something like that. And so you sort of, but if you know your music, you know where to find it, what you want to be listening to anyway, don't you? So it's interesting. Now, you have talked to me about this guy Corey Dick. So tell me about Corey. So I've got hold of his music, but I've yet to listen to it. Tell me what I'm going to be hearing when I do.
Well, how do I start this? So just a little bit of preamble. We found out about this guy. We were playing 2 gigs in one day. We were going to be playing at the Flapper in Birmingham, and we were doing a support slot, and at the same night we were doing a later slot at the Wheatsheaf in Oxford. And it was like the first time we'd ever done anything like that. So how are we going to do this? Like, we just play the set in Birmingham, pack down, shoot off to Oxford. It was kind of stressful. And I remember as we were on our way to Birmingham, there's like loads of rush hour traffic. It was raining. We were just frustrated because we'd just been in the car for ages. We're like, we've got another gig to play after the one we're going to.
Yeah.
Like, I want to get there. And, you know, when you're in a car for so long, you end up feeling a bit delirious and just kind of, I remember our drummer, Jan, put the radio on, and I can't remember what station we were on. It may have been 4, but there was just this beautiful jazz track playing. And I'm pretty sure we heard like the very, very start of it. And the dynamics of the whole thing were incredible. And the production was pristine. And there was this sort of interweaving poem being sort of spoke sung throughout the song. And it got more and more intense after each part of the poem, and just all went into a frenzy and then slowly died back down again. Like, just a masterclass in dynamics and setting a mood. And it was so warm and like it beautifully composed. And we were just like, what is this? And we were just like listening in, trying to make sure we catch what the presenter said at the end. And all we caught was Corey Dick, Chaos Collective. And we're like, right, is someone write that down in their phones or something? And eventually, when we got the chance, we looked him up, saw him on Bandcamp and stuff, and his album was about to come out. I'm imagining the one you've been looking at is the
Impossible
one.
Things.
Yeah, it was about to come out, and we were like, oh, awesome, we're just about on this train sort of thing. And, you know, me and Jan bought the album, and it was astounding. It was just beautiful, beautiful music. And we were just like, oh, just smitten with the whole thing. And eventually, me and Jan went to see this guy live at the Cambridge Jazz Rooms. And the thing, we're all metalheads. Like, you know, we've spent years going to shows at, like, whether it's like a basement somewhere or be the NIA arena or whatever, it's always the same. It's big bulky dudes with beards walking around with camo and metal shirts and all that. And here we were at this called the Hidden Rooms in Cambridge, sat on this lovely sofa, people bringing drinks. They've got like you know, they've got like little stalls where it's like, oh, this is a group from the Netherlands, and like me and Jan were just like, we are such imposters. What are we doing here? And watch the show, and it is the single greatest live performance of any musical act I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
We were absolutely, and Jan as well, he's a tough guy to please. We were just sat on this sofa, literally as far from the band as I am from this laptop, like while they were playing this music. And like, I'm pretty sure barely anything was mic'd. And we were just like, how? Like, they've changed like the atmosphere. It was just absolutely incredible. And we came away from it just like, that's how to be a musician. Like, that is how to, you know, because all these songs, like, they're all broadly jazz, but they have so many different flavors to them that every song has its own identity.
Yeah.
And that's what we really love about music. Like, it's always annoying when you get an album and like you put track 1 on, you're like, this is great. And then every other song is just lesser variations of that thing. You're kind of like, oh, I don't really need it now. Like, we love music that has its own identity. And yeah, that's what it was. And the song I've given you is, I would say, if it's not my favorite song ever, it's in my top 5. Like,
oh my goodness, really?
Yeah. And I just love the kind of how we found out about him. And before that, I'd never really dipped my toes into jazz or anything like that, because not that I disliked it, but whatever I heard of it was all kind of like freakouts and solos and stuff. And I've just never really been that mad on solo playing. I like the group kind of effort of it. I make exceptions, things like Snarky Puppy, incredible. But like, I like the composition, I like the journey, I like the dynamics, the peaks and troughs where songs go. And I just feel Corey Dick, and this song in particular, absolutely nails it. And as much as there's no jazz influences in Conjurer, like, he's just one of the most influential musicians that I've ever come across. And it's just good to kind of have those like milestone moments in your music discovering journey. Like, Corey's just a big one. Like, at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Well, I'm going to see if we can play this. Let's see if it works. So here we go. This is King William Walk from Corey Dick, as recommended by Dan Nightingale. 3, 2, 1. Beverage. You say he's the percussionist in this, or the drummer?
Yeah. Production immaculate.
Amazing. So understated, those drums. Okay.
There he is. A bit Iron Maiden-y.
Yeah.
See what I mean about the different moods?
It's a Brazilian now. It's like carnival music.
The bass in the background, like. Impossible to feel sad while listening.
Yeah.
And with some pace the riot began to strike the place. The sun tore up with fire and a frown stuck to his face. And with the kingdom broken, he'd have to find a home, one with a faith to match his own.
Indeed. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, inspired by the show with your brother. I just thought as soon as I watched that and heard him wax lyrical about jazz, I was like, well, I've got to talk about this.
Totally. Oh, he'll love this. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, he may already know Corey Dick, but it's
maybe,
yeah. Wow.
I thought that was a good pick.
No, thank you so much. That's so cool. Really, really interesting. I said I got this off Bandcamp a few days ago, and I've not listened to it. Deliberately not listened to it yet. So that's brilliant. I've got the rest of the album now to go and listen to. So,
yeah, enjoy.
Yeah, I will do. Load this onto the phone and put my headphones on and go for a run or something tomorrow. And although it might not be running music, actually, I'm not sure. But
yeah, all the jazz hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. It's just one of those musical discoveries that you never saw coming. Like, at least, you know, when I was a kid, getting into metal and stuff, it was kind of like, okay, let's see where metal can go. But this was just one of the, like, I'd never really delved into jazz, was never particularly interested in it. But yeah, just on that drive to the gig in Birmingham, this coming on, and just, it was one of those ones where, like, if someone was talking in the back, like, shush, we're just trying to listen.
Yeah.
I remember Jan, like, sticking his head down the speaker on the side of the car door, just trying to listen to that first song. And yeah, it's just one of those things. It was just kind of like, I didn't know this kind of music existing. And you think about it, you're like, well, obviously jazz has existed, but not this jazz. And like, yeah, it's just, you know,
it's all about preconceptions, isn't it? And that's part of what my journey has been, sort of discovering music. I had an absolute preconception of what I thought prog was. And I said, I don't want to know anything about this bit of dirty word. It's horrible, you know. It's sort of you kind of think you know what it is, and actually, you know what? It is just the most amazing music. And it's the same with jazz. That you think, oh, it's all sort of trad jazz. It's all people in boaters doing sort of wedding reception music, and actually, it's not. It's just the most. It is actually the most progressive music there is. The places it goes and the things it does and the inventiveness that it has. It's just extraordinary. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you so much. Really, really, really good. Amazing.
Yeah, he's and an interesting fact about it is, you know, the woman that sang right at the end just for those couple of bars, we contacted her because we have a poem on our new record. There's a song on our new record where we wrote a poem and it was just like, well, we've got to get her to do it. Like, whether she will, I don't know. But we reached out, we contacted her. Her name's Alice Zavadsky. She's an incredible vocalist and violinist. Her stuff is amazing as well. Like, really kind of, it's like progressive jazz in a way. Like she, you know, she does her vocals and melodies and things like that. But everything that's going on around her, there's almost kind of freaky, strange kind of instrumentation and melodies going on. It's just like, how do people come up with this stuff? It's just like, that's kind of what we felt listening to Corey did. But yeah, we hit her up and she did this poem for us, and now
she did
features, it. Yeah,
and amazing.
And her partner actually is quite a big fan of ours, it seemed, and he offered to, because him and Alice, the song that it's the poem is for, is about, not to get too sad or anything, but is about Alzheimer's and dementia. And she works as a nurse, like taking care of those people. And her partner is a fan of ours and decided to write a poem for us. And was just like, whether you use it or not, like, I don't care. I just wanted to write it for you. And so now we're gonna do two different versions. We're gonna do the one on the album's gonna be the poem we did that Alice sang, spoke, and then we're doing an alternative take where it's her partner's poem that he wrote for us, and it's just a really nice kind of one of those things you never expect to happen. Like,
isn't that wonderful? How the universe not even rewards you, but it just sort of gives back all the time. If you are willing to accept it and take stuff, put things out there, it comes back in different ways, and it's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, because it's. I heard that song. Like, the first song is called Saw. That's the one we heard on the radio, and then when me and Jan finally got the album, that song just stuck with me. The one we just listened to, it stuck with me for all these years. It's my ringtone. I absolutely adore it, and it just kind of, I don't know, I just love those musical discoveries that they just take you completely by surprise. You weren't looking for it. It just happened to you one day and then changed everything. Like, I love those kinds of stories and happenstances. So I wanted to share that with you, and you share it with your brother and all that kind of stuff. Like,
It's good. It'll bloom. Hopefully, it'll bloom. Yeah. That's part of. I mean, you coming on and doing this as well is kind of like I'm starting this thing where I'm asking people to come on and have a chat, or giving people an opportunity to come if they want to, because everybody's got a story to tell, and music is so personal and important to people in different ways, and just having something written down on a comment or something on YouTube, it doesn't really sort of connect, but like this, there's a proper story there, and it means something, and it's so important, and that's why it's so good to do this. Well, one of the reasons it's good. It's great just to do this anyway, but it's lovely.
Yeah, I mean, another thing, like, one thing I've loved about your channel is particularly when you do these album playthroughs, like today we're going to listen to side one of this album and stuff. when you put on the Mahavishnu Orchestra. I said this in our emails together, but like hearing that was that was like a wish list band for me for so long. Finally, you know, was introduced to it through watching you, listening to it essentially, and I was just absolutely knocked back. And so one of the other guys in Kirsty's Metal Hands, who is also the singer and guitarist in Pijn, I messaged him about Mahavishnu Orchestra and was just, oh my god, have you heard this? This is incredible. And he says, oh, a little known fact, the guitarist, what's his name, John McLaughlin?
Yeah.
That's his granddad. And I was just like, I was just like, what? And he's just like, yeah, that's my granddad. That's my mum's dad. And it's just like, wow, you can't just drop that on me. Like, I was having this incredible experience, like watching you listen to Mahavishnu Orchestra, like, this is incredible, I got to tell Joe. And then it's like, yeah, it's my granddad. And I was like, just drop that in there. Okay, that's fine. And yeah, like, he was just like, yeah, there's some really cool, fun guitar bits on that Birds of Fire album. And I was just like, I love those small world situations where it's just like, you know, I listen to you listening to an album, go tell my mate, and he's like, that's my granddad. It's like, what? Yeah. But I thought I'd drop that in there. I thought that was a nice little nugget of information.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. I was going to ask you about this. This chap here is pronounced Pijn, is it? Because
yes.
I've struggled with this so much. I thought it was pigeon.
There's a running joke. Is people either say pigeon or peen.
The other thing is there's a Dutch pronunciation which is Pijn. I thought maybe it's Pijn. I don't know, but now it's Pijn.
Yeah, so the Dutch pronunciation is Pijn, but it means pain.
Right.
Or
okay.
ache.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Because it was when I remember me and my friend went to Amsterdam for a little getaway, and all the street names, like, they have I and J next to them, so we were like, Spigenstraat, and they're like, no, it's Spijnstraat and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I and J is like a, you know, it just makes the I sound, and those guys are awesome. It was wicked doing that album with them and finding out that Joe's dad is in Mahavishnu Orchestra. I still can't get over it.
Are you guys going to do anything else again, do you think?
Oh, Kirsty's, yeah. We've got a new song in the works. In terms of like whether it'll be for an album or whatnot, I don't know. Like, that's very much our project. That when the planets align and both us and Pijn have got like some time to spare, it's like, right, let's get in the practice room and do some of that stuff. And the Corey Dick stuff we've listened to, like, that's heavily influenced like the newer stuff in terms of like having all these different instrumentations, and, you know, kind of little noodly bits, little freakouts, little solos and stuff. Like, that's definitely played into like a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing and writing. We still have like heavy riffs and stuff, but I just really love the kind of like that Corey Dick song. It's almost like folk jazz. Like, you can imagine it being played in like a low ceiling kind of beamed pub somewhere, like a roaring fire, and you're with all your mates or something. It just warms the cockles.
It does. There's a storm blowing outside and it's horrible. And thank you so much for coming on. I mean, it's brilliant. It's I really, really loved chatting. And if you ever want to come back and do another one, have another chat again, I'd be more than happy to have you on, as it were. Yeah. So that's been great. I hope you've enjoyed it, and it's been brilliant fun. So thanks ever so much. And
no worries. Thank you.
So where can people see you coming up? So you're at Bloodstock next year. I see that. Yes. Playing at Bloodstock?
Oh God, I don't know. Don't know about next year. We've got a month-long European tour coming up in March. We're very much hunkering down for winter, so that's going to be our next big thing. We're mainly focusing on Europe and the UK next year. Like, the album's going to be out around summertime, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, so we're gonna be ready in time for like festival season and stuff. Get a headline tour like towards the end of the year. There's loads of festivals and stuff like Hellfest. I'm trying to remember there's like Brutal Assault in, I want to say, Czech Republic. I can't remember. There's this thing when you've had like 15 months of like whatever offer you getting cancelled or just not getting offers because there's no gigs on.
Yeah.
Whatever comes your way, you kind of like, well, we'll see if it even happens. And now that everything is starting to happen, the diary's filling up, and it's just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do it. Like it's quite hard to catch up sometimes. We've got a lot on our plates, but it's all exciting. Like I'm so glad that we can be back on the road again.
Yeah.
There's been times when like we'll have played a set and then come off and dry off and everything, and then we'll go and watch the other bands, and you just stand there and you're like, I'm at a gig. What's everyone doing it? Like it's still getting used to that. Like it's been a wild old time, to say the least. For sure. And hopefully it'll only get wilder.
Is there anything you're excited about seeing coming out soon?
What, in terms of like music releases and stuff? Yeah. I find it harder and harder to keep my finger on the pulse. I'm always catching up with like 2 years ago, like whatever came out 2 years ago. In terms of stuff I've really liked this year, there's this London, I believe she's a harpist. Her name's Nala Senefro, and so during the pandemic and everything, I've really gotten into ambient music. It's been really nice to just chill out to, fall asleep to. Every time I go to sleep at night, I've got a little Bluetooth speaker that just plays, whether it's ASMR videos or I've got a jazz for sleep playlist that I sit and listen to. But yeah, this woman, Nala Senefro, she's just put out an album called Space 1.8. And it's her first album. And the only way I can describe it is ambient space jazz.
That's a genre I want to get all over. I love the sound of that.
It's luscious. Like it's all that kind of, soft electric piano, bit of harp going. Some songs are a bit more like, they'll have a beat, they'll have a rhythm to them, but some are just like soundscapes. It's almost like a relaxation CD sort of thing. But that was a really good find this year. Trying to think of other stuff. I know on January 1st, a band called The Dirty Nil, they're just like a 3-piece rock band from Canada. They released an album. I shan't repeat the album title because it's got a swear word in it, but it is really good. Really good, just kind of... it's punk rock that's influenced by stuff like Cheap Trick.
Okay.
And...
right, so...
kind of rock show antics, the guitarist wears very flamboyant suits and like bending over backwards while doing his solos, blowing bubble gum. It's very rock and roll. It's very tongue in cheek.
Perfect.
But that's a whole lot of fun. Otherwise, I've really struggled keeping my finger on like new releases and stuff because I'm like, well, I've got my sleepy time jazz stuff. I'm happy with that. Like that'll do me.
Love it. Cool.
But yeah, can't think of anything off the top of my head because, I listen to most music in the car and stuff. And I listen to podcasts a lot. Like I listen to people talking more than I listen to music sometimes. Because I don't know, it's just company, really. I don't know if that makes me sad or what, but I just really like, listening to people's opinions and
chatting.
Stuff.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's a great way of getting into music and stuff. Like
yeah.
Anthony Fantano he's been a huge thing for me in terms of discovering new music and stuff. And
the internet's busiest music nerd.
Yeah, and it's the same with with your channel and stuff. Like I know I keep wanging on about them, but Mahavishnu Orchestra and stuff, and there was something else you had on the other day that was fantastic. The thing is, I've sat and gone through everything. Like you listening to Gajera has been really fun because it reminds me of when I first heard stuff like Ouroboros.
Yeah.
And I just really like hearing someone experience music for the first time.
There is some real amazing stuff to this. Some of the Mars Volta stuff. Have you ever listened to that?
Yeah.
Man, that's if you're not prepared for that, that sort of just blows you sideways. What the hell is this? It's absolutely crazy music, and then it's just. I just love it. I love just discovering the new Mastodon album. I don't know if you've heard that yet. Hushed and Grim. I'm absolutely in love with that. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm really glad. So I'm really big on like the first 4 albums.
Yeah.
Like when they started doing the Hunter and everything afterwards, I kind of fell off a bit. Yeah. But hearing them, I'm kind of happy that they're going back to the kind of things I liked. And so I haven't listened to the whole thing yet. I've only, unfortunately, listened to like maybe 5 or 6 songs. But I was really happy to hear them doing the kind of low slung thing that I really like.
Go straight to side 4. It's absolutely it's majestic. I mean, you work your way through it, but side 4 is the absolute pinnacle. It's just astonishing. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I need to give it. I'll need to pick it up. To be honest, that'll be a little treat to myself over the Christmas period. I think.
Right. I already finished this once. We just rambled on again. So.
Yeah, sorry.
That's me. No, that's me. I was asking you questions about sort of stuff. Anyway, no, we're done. Okay. Thanks so much. Thanks for coming on. It's been brilliant. Loved having you. And I'd love to have a chat again at some point if you have the time and the inclination.
Sometime in future. Yeah, we'll get something sorted.
Yeah. So all that's left to say is thank you, Dan, very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And it's goodbye from me as well. So until the next video, whenever and whatever that is, this is Jim saying over